Assuming we have a policy that we know we want to apply to a user or a group, and that policy has already been authored, we can go ahead and just use the write IAM group policy or write IAM user policy in order to get that policy applied. So as you can see here, we're using a group name. So it's a group that already exists. Then we specify a policy name, and according to AWS best practices, what we want to do is not only specify like a descriptive name for it, but then we also want to include a date. So I've just put the word date in here, but that's normally where I'd put, the date of the policy whenever I applied that. And then the last thing, because policy documents are in JSON format, we'll go ahead and use get content raw on the policy JSON. That way, whenever we submit it, it submits appropriately. So I'm not going to go into how to create the policy JSONs in this video, but we can go ahead and show you how to get those applied. So if we want to go ahead and write that group policy, let's go ahead and write that there. And just for fun, we can also use a user policy. So policies in AWS not only can apply them to a group of users, but you can also apply them to individual users. So if I want to, say, restrict my own access with a special policy, I can do that as well. We've gone ahead and we've written those and applied those policies. Now, assuming that you don't want to write or create your own policies, Amazon has hundreds of policies. And if you go into the policy editor within the IAM module in the management console, you can see all of those. And actually, just for fun, let me go ahead and take you there now. So here's a lot of those different policies that you can have applied here. And there's different ways that you can filter them. So let's go ahead and filter them, and we'll choose AWS Managed, which is good. And then in our search bar here, let's just assume we want to do something like our good old S3 permissions. So as you can see, we have a couple different S3 permissions policies. And what I'm talking about whenever we go into our demo on how to apply these policies with PowerShell, whenever I specify the ARN or the Amazon resource number, this is how you would go ahead and retrieve that. So for the Amazon S3 read-only access, we could go ahead and copy this policy ARN and apply that to our resource. Alternatively, if we were wanting to, say, take some templated JSON and create our own permission set, this would be another way we could do that. We could go ahead and copy this JSON in the policy summary in the lower portion of the screen and then modify it or suit it to our own purposes. So let's head back to our script. So now that we know how to grab a policy ARN and we have our group name of a group that already exists, in my case, that's going to be TS engineers, we can use this commandlet, the register IAM group policy commandlet, in order to add this policy to that group. So once we do that, cool, that has gone ahead and applied, and I'll show you how to check that here pretty soon. Alternatively, again, if you weren't wanting to apply this to a whole group, instead you just wanted to apply it to an individual user, we can specify that username using the register IAM user policy commandlet. So we'll go ahead and do that as well. So once it comes to querying the group policies, there's a PowerShell way and there's a management console way in order to get that done. PowerShell way, we can go ahead and get the IAM group policies with the group name of TS engineers, and that shows us the policies that we've written and applied to that group. Likewise, we can use the get IAM user policies, specifying the username, and there we have Bryce's special policy and the date. But these commandlets don't show us the registered policies that Amazon had written. So what we can do here, in case we were wanting to take a little bit of a deeper dive into the users and groups and the policies that are applied to them, we can go ahead and head back to the management console. And inside of the IAM resource, you'll be able to see the users and groups that you've created. So I'm going to click on my user, and we can see that we have applied that Amazon S3 full access AWS managed policy, and we've applied Bryce's special policy, that inline policy. Likewise, if we wanted to go to our group, we could view our group and see the permissions that are attached there. You can see the managed policies as well as the inline policies. And one last note, if we are wanting to view those inline policies, the ones that are managed by AWS, we can go ahead and use the get IAM attached group policies, specifying our group name. And when we do that, that returns back the policy ARN that we had previously applied to it. In this case, that Amazon S3 full access. Same thing again for a user, we just substitute in user for group and specify the appropriate name. And we can go ahead and we see that policy ARN.